and welcome to today's meeting of the California Board of Legal Specialization. I'm Rob Hershenson. We are going to go ahead and start our open session. And with that, Adrian, if you could please take roll.
Of course. Acosta, Hammerschmidt, Hershenson,
Here.
Lester,
Here.
Levy,
Here.
Vance, and Yoon.
Here.
Thank you. We have enough members for quorum. We can continue.
All right, thank you, Adrian. So just as a reminder, I know we're meeting on Zoom, but just like a regular in-person meeting, it is recorded and archived on the State Bar website, as well as being streamed, I believe, through the State Bar's website. We're going to take the agenda in order as it appears on the agenda, the items, and then we'll be doing votes by roll call when necessary. So with that, we will be taking public comments today. We do offer open up to the members of the public. If you are on Zoom, we ask that you raise your hand by clicking on raise hand at the bottom of the screen. You'll be called on if you'd like to make a public comment. If you're on the phone, you can raise your hand by pressing star and 9, and then someone will call you. Is there any members of the present, any of the members of the public that are present that would like to speak?
There are no public members present.
No public members. Okay, so hearing that there's none, we can move on into the staff reporting section. So I'll have you move on, and we'll start with staffing updates. And Audrey, if you can give us an update, please.
Yes, well, you might have noticed a couple new faces in our Zoom boxes today. We are finally fully staffed on our side at Legal Specialization. I'd like to introduce to you Janice Bowden and Latrell Cabrigas. Janice, we actually are lucky to get her from another state bar department, the Office of Chief Trial Counsel. She has her Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy, Morality, Law, and Politics from ASU, Arizona State University. She's also working on a master's. She's a registered paralegal. She was a paralegal for OCTC and a legal secretary too just before that. Latrell Cabrigas joins us from Baker & Botts, LLP. He has his Bachelor of Arts in Criminology and Criminal Justice from University of Texas at Arlington. Like I said, he was at Baker & Botts, where he was the Senior Conference Services Assistant. Both of them have wonderful backgrounds. They're going to be two of our program specialists, along with Anna, who you know from prior meetings, and other program specialists. So we are fully staffed. If they want to say hello, they can wave to you on their box, and then maybe they'll come to the front of your screen if they say anything, but welcome to them both.
You guys are clearly underachievers. Welcome.
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 Yes, so that's the very exciting staffing update from me, is that, yeah, with Adrian, a supervisor, Janelle's analyst, and we have 3 program specialists. That's the full team at Legal Specialization.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Audrey. And welcome to the team. It's Janice, is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, Janice.
Janice and Latrell. Well, welcome to the team.
Yes.
All right. So again, thank you, Audrey. Let's move on into the next section, which is an update on the 2021 work plan initiatives. And with that, I'll ask Anna to give us.
Yeah, so I'm going to provide an update on the CBLS 2021 work plan initiatives. The work plan is set to go to the Board of Trustees for approval on March 18th. We continue to follow the guidelines when evaluating proposals for new specialty areas. Recently, staff, CBLS officers, and IAPP met to discuss their recent application for accreditation in privacy law. After our discussion, IAPP plans to adjust their internal tasks and approval in order to meet California standards and resubmit their application. Next, we aim to procure an exam item banking solution to increase exam security and efficiency. The State Bar IT team has met with a prospective vendor to evaluate their capabilities and infrastructure. Staff will provide additional updates later during the closed session. We also want to implement a procedure to remove certified specialist designations and enforcement. Staff continues to work on this and hopes to create a draft plan, hopefully for the next meeting. Part of the work plan is to establish a contingency plan to administer the 2021 legal specialist exam remotely, similar to the recent bar exams and the first-year law students exams. Given the uncertainty around COVID and what restrictions and limitations may be in place in October, staff is working with IT and the exam administration team to set up a remote administration. We will plan for general applicants to take the exam remotely and open registration on April 1st. And we also plan to contract Northern and Southern California test locations for limited in-person testing for applicants with testing accommodations and extenuating circumstances. Lastly, we hope to engage in marketing opportunities for the purpose of educating the public about the legal specialization program to encourage program participation. We have recently taken a measure by sending an announcement via email regarding the legal specialization exam to all California licensees. And staff is working with the communications team to announce the legal specialist exam registration, which will open on April 1st. And that's it for the work plan initiatives.
Well, thank you very much, Anna. Moving on into our next section,
And
which is the update on legal. I'm sorry, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, quick. On the marketing opportunities, do we also have reaching out to the general public in there as part and parcel of this work plan?
It is a part of the that initiative, and staff will be working on a plan and look at the different opportunities for us to be able to reach out to the public to inform them the benefits of the legal specialization program and why it is best to look for a certified specialist.
And Adrian, do you want to also add the notice that went out to all licensees?
Yes, the state bar did send a general LYRIS or email blast that went out to all California licensees. It included an announcement regarding the upcoming examination. It informed them that the legal specialist examination is going to be administered or is going to be available at a reduced registration cost, and that the registration is set to open on April 1st, and that applicants will be able to register online in the new state bar applicant portal.
Now, did this go to all licensees regardless of whether they were already certified specialists or just to licensees who were not yet certified specialists?
It went out to all licensees. It was I'd have to go back and check, but it included additional information that wouldn't have been specific to legal specialization. It would have had information regarding just the state bar generally as well.
It was a broad email,
Yeah.
so it was the full distribution list.
Okay, I'm just trying to recall if I'd gotten this notice or communication.
You should have.
Yeah, you should have.
Because it may have been part of a bunch of other announcements, I may not have recognized it for what it was. Not to say that I don't read all of my email thoroughly, but there are occasions where I tend to scan things and I don't recall seeing it then.
Yeah, to that point, I'm not a licensee, so if somebody could, I wouldn't be on those lists. If it could be sent to me and then Jake as the public members, if we could somehow get on those distributions, it'd be great.
I'll find that specific email and the wording, and I'll send it to the full CBLS after this meeting.
Perfect, appreciate it, Adrian. And then also as it relates to the marketing, as to the public, provided that the Board of Trustees is okay and we can move forward, I am kind of formally raising my hand to say I would like to be involved if possible with that, because I think as a member of the public and having dealt with attorneys, I have a pretty strong opinion on the value of the program, as well as some outreach ideas. So,
Of course, noted. Thank you so much, Rob.
yeah, of course, thank you. All right, any other questions on item B, on the work plan initiatives? Okay, moving on then to item C, which is the update on the legal specialist examination format. And with that, we'll turn it over to Adrian.
Of course. So As Anna previously mentioned in the work plan update, State Bar and staff, we're currently planning to administer the 2021 legal specialist examination remotely. And this is similar to what was recently done for the bar examination and the first year law students examination. We are planning to open up registration on April 1st, and it'll be done through the new State Bar admissions applicant portal. Part of the application, all applicants will initially be asked to register as a laptop applicant because it is going to be administered generally remotely. But the application will ask the applicant to acknowledge testing conditions, that they have access to a quiet space for the day, and that they'll have reliable internet connection throughout the day. If needed, applicants may then request to test in person due to extenuating circumstances, or to handwrite, or for testing accommodations as well.
Don't handwrite. We can't read them.
Yeah.
There's no grading on handwriting. All right. Any questions on item C? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on into item D, which is recent developments. And again, back to Audrey.
Hey, so last week we had a development. We administered the February California bar exam on Tuesday and Wednesday, 23rd and 24th of February. We had 3,803 applicants taking the exam on Tuesday and Wednesday. 154 of them were in person. Similar to what Adrian was saying, what we're planning for October for legal specialization, these are folks who had accommodations where they needed hard copy materials, or they wanted to handwrite, or they said they needed a quiet place to test. Both Adrian and Anna were out at one of our 6 sites administering the exam in person. That was a very small number. Obviously, the bulk of folks were taking the exam at their homes, at their office. Some were not in person with other people. 442 of that 3,803 were taking the one-day exam. So they were attorneys not taking the multiple choice, multi-state bar exam. So those folks were only testing over day 1. On Friday of last week, the 26th, the Supreme Court issued an order saying that the July bar exam on July 27th and 28th will also be primarily administered remotely. So we do know that direction for our July exam. And just of note, we do in between the February and July exam, we also have the June 2021 first year law students exam, which we will be administering remotely as well. So lots of exams to look forward to. The takeaway from last week in terms of this being our second bar exam that we administered remotely is that it really overall went very well. Fewer reported issues with the technology, with the vendor that we had, shorter wait times, more and more people, even in our preliminary results from the post-bar exam survey, finding that they were able to get into the exam and finish each sessions with little trouble. So as we iterate on this experience of doing everything remotely, things are looking up in terms of the user experience. So fairly positive report from my end on the exam. I know the next item we want to talk about is the provisional licensure program, which we also last week expanded. So I'm going to hand that over to Amy to give a brief report.
All right, thanks everyone. So to start, I just want to give everyone a background on the program itself. So in July of 2020, the California Supreme Court directed the State Bar to develop and implement a temporary supervised provisional licensure program. And this is in response to challenges facing law students due to the COVID pandemic. So in October, the court approved the new rule that we proposed, 9.49, which allowed applicants from graduates from December 2019 through December 2020 to apply for provisional licensure. And so that would mean that they could work under a supervising lawyer as an attorney without having met all of the licensing requirements. And so the exceptions to the requirements were the bar exam and the MPRE. So in lieu of an MPRE, applicants for this program could also complete the professional ethics course requirements required of first year entry-level attorneys. So in response to concerns raised by the working group that was established to help design the parameters of this program, and also in response to a public comment, the court approved an amendment that expanded the eligibility of this program. That eligibility was approved in January of this year, and it was expanded to allow an alternate pathway to licensure for any bar exam applicant that scored between a 1390 and a 1439, which is and 1390 is a new bar exam passing score. If anybody achieved that score, again 1390 and 1439 on first read, or as a total scaled score on any bar exam between July 2015 and February 2020, they would be allowed to also apply for this program. Also, on top of being meeting the eligibility criteria, this group of provisionally licensed lawyers would also be able to use at least 300 hours of this service and a positive reference from a supervising lawyer. And this positive reference needed to ensure that that the supervising lawyer states that the provisionally licensed lawyer meets minimum competence to practice law. They would be able to substitute their participation in this program in lieu of a bar exam passage. So that is, anybody who enters the PLL program under the expansion rules will be allowed to substitute that program as long as they've met the 300 hours of participation and a positive reference in lieu of passing the bar, and they can become licensed. And so that program itself opened on February 24th. And since its launch, I want to give you the statistics of where we're at. As of today, we have a total of, I just looked this number up, give me 1 second. There are 1,701 applications that we've had. 555 people have already started practicing under the PLL program. So currently 448 are graduates of the program and 130 are provisionally licensed based on the program expansion rules. So overall, it's been a successful program, and we are continuing to collect information. The program itself, the PLL, is set to sunset on June 1st, 2022. Also, applications to the expansion portion are set to close on March 31st of this year. So there's a 3-month, I'm sorry, May 31st. So it's a 3-month period that that we're accepting applications under the expansion rules.
I would only note that numbers do not mean it's necessarily successful. I wait to see the outcome of how these provisional licensees actually do. My fingers are crossed that they don't add to additional harm. That's all.
Yeah. So I have a question about the program. So someone under a provisional license, how long do they have before they have to then convert to be a licensee, or it goes back? I guess let me get to what the end question is. Do we need to be concerned that there's a provisional licensee for 5 years that can then apply to the CBLS to be a specialist rather?
No, so only licensees are allowed to. So the provisional licensure is not, the time as a provisionally licensed attorney does not account for part of the 5-year experience. And there are 2 separate programs. So the first that is open to graduates allows graduates to work as a provisionally licensed lawyer until they pass the bar exam. The expansion allows those that have already, it's open to those that have already received a 1390, the new cut score for any of the past exams in that 5-year period. So from July 2015 to February 2020. And so that is the completion of the 300 hours along with this positive reference will allow them to substitute that for the bar exam. So there are 2 different sets of criteria that put them on the pathway to licensure. Once they're in licensure, then they that is the time that starts to accumulate for potential to participate as a legal specialist.
Got it. Thank you. Thanks for clarifying that.
Sure.
Does anyone have any other questions regarding the provisional licensure program? Okay, hearing none, that is going to end that portion of our agenda. We'll move into the consent portion. And that is the approval of the minutes from the December 11th meeting. Has everybody had an opportunity? Well, let me rephrase that. If you haven't had an opportunity to review the minutes, if you could raise your hand or make a comment, we can take some time for you. Okay, hearing none. So I am unable to vote. I was not in attendance for the meeting. So is there a motion, though, to receive the minutes?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, moved by Mark. Is there a second?
Second.
Was that Avi?
Yes.
Okay, second by Avi. And we're going to have Adrian call roll for the vote.
Christensen,
I abstain.
Lester,
Aye.
Levy,
Yes.
Yoon.
Aye.
That's enough. The motion passes.
Great, thank you, everybody. And actually, that closes out our consent portion for today. We'll move into business. And that is reviewing the report on financial and operational key indicators. And again, I'll pass it back over to Audrey.
Thank you. I'm going to go over several attachments. The first one is the 2021 State Bar budget. It's a really large document, so I'm not sure if you're looking at it on your computer like I am. It kind of opens up to where the legal specialization part of the budget is. It's on page 115. If you printed it out at the bottom of the page I'm looking at, it is page 103, just so everyone can kind of find it as we go through the document. It's very, yeah, it's a hefty one, of course, it's the full budget. So if you are looking at our budget, you can see that we have a very small 0.3% 2021 budgeted revenue increase compared to 2020. We also budgeted a net decrease of $1,053,597. So we have expenses for $1.1 million for exam development. Obviously, this is an exam year. Consultants, developers, pre-testers, and graders, which was new to the program compared to how we used to develop the exam. We do still have a budgeted net balance of $4,372,842 if you go ahead in that document to at the top of the page, it's 119. And you can see that full how much we're going to have in reserves. So at the bottom of the actual pagination, it's 107, but in the document, it's 119 because of all the front pages and table of contents. So you can see we're at 128% of our reserve level, and we're going to talk later in the agenda about spending down that reserve. That's by far over what the Board of Trustees allows for reserves. I think they allow 30% for reserves. And so we're going to talk about, besides what we've already done in our last meeting to reduce the exam fees.
Just because we're efficient, I mean, come on.
We're going to talk about some more spending down in a little while with our budget reserve level. Anyone have any questions so far on that first attachment about the budget?
Can you tell me where we would find the note payable as part of our budget or monies anticipated to come in?
The note, you mean the interfund transfer?
Right, that is getting paid back slowly.
I think the interfund transfer is on that page 103 at the bottom of the page, or 115 if you're looking at it online. It's in there, the interfund transfer of $100,000. Do you see it? Do you know what I could share, or Adrian could share his screen to highlight it.
Okay, I see it there. It's down at the,
Yeah.
So that's the transfers in. Got it.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. No worries. Any other questions?
I didn't have a chance to get through all 242 pages.
No, I know. And it's kind of confusing the way it's paginated, anyway. But yes, I doubt maybe someone printed out all 242 pages. It's interesting, obviously, of interest to look at the whole budget, but today we're only looking at a couple pages. Any other questions?
If okay, to Mark's point, I just want to point out, so on that same line, just so that the full CBLS is aware, the 100,000 for each year, that's for the loan that's payable for those 10 years from admission, so that we can see that it is coming in each year as well. So
Thanks, Adrian.
Okay, barring any questions, I'll move to attachment B. So we're looking at attachment B in the agenda at the total number of certified specialists compared like year over year. So we are at a slight decrease from a year ago. We've lost 4 aggregate. Estate and family saw the largest increase, 31 total between those 2 areas, and workers' compensation saw the largest decrease, 14 fewer year over year.
Question.
Yep.
Don't we actually have a increase as opposed to a decrease?
you're right. It's a 4 decrease or 4 increase. I apologize.
Yes, sorry. Yes, approximately 4 increase. I was looking at the approximate sign in my notes and making it a minus in my head, but it's an approximately 4. It's exactly 4. A 4, yes, that's a positive. Thank you for the note. It is a positive.
Yeah.
Sorry, yes, an increase. Any other clarifications? Thank you for that catch.
And I just wanted to let you know I'm here back from court. This is Jeff Hammerschmidt.
Hi, Jeff.
you, Jeff.
Welcome back from court. Good to see you.
Thank you.
All right, well, we can look at attachment C, which is resignations. So if we're looking at resignations, we have a total of 66 resignations through March 1st. Exactly half of those are due to retirement, so 33. I mean, forecasting wise, we can expect more resignations, but based on our current pattern, 2021 should be comparable to our 2020 and 2019 totals with, we had 136 in one year and 160 in the other respectively. So you can kind of look at the full picture there on that attachment of how over the years we're going through resignations. Okay, any questions? I'll go through the next attachment. Attachment D, total number of certified specialists. So we're looking at the Legal Specialization Education Compliance Group 3 in this attachment. Compliance Group 3 had their reporting extension ending on September 30, but our last meeting, you'll recall, this group, the CBLS, asked the staff to call pending specialists, and so we did. We called all the pending specialists who were compliance was expiring, and we're down to 62 pending from 103 at our last meeting in December. So we were able to reach out to all those folks based on your suggestions, and the number is much lower than it was in our December meeting. So we're looking now at the attachment E, the final attachment for me to go over. And that one is the Legal Specialization Education Group Compliance 2. And they had their reporting ending on February 1st. There are 1,397 specialists in that group. 643, which is a large number, are still pending, but they have now an extension till the 30th of June, which is the MCLE deadline. And we will be sending our mass email notices to all pending specialists next week, hoping to get more and more of them into compliance. Any questions with those groups and their compliance? Okay, that's all from me.
All right, thank you, Audrey. Any questions from anyone regarding any of the reports, including budget and number of specialists, before we move on?
Is this where we needed to do any voting on revoking, or is that later on?
It'll be a later item.
Later on.
Okay, we'll move on to section B, which is the review of the report on initial certification application statuses. And with that, turn it over to Adrian.
So just for some background, in order to receive certification, applicants must first take and pass the legal specialist examination. Only then are they actually eligible to submit their post-exam applications for initial certification. So we'll be looking at the last two administrations of the legal specialist exam. On attachment A, these are for applicants who passed the 2017 exam. Due to CBLS action, they now have until April 30th of this year to file their application. Of the 704 passers, 82.8% of them have already filed their application. Once again, they originally had until January 31st of this year to apply, but the CBLS approved a 3-month extension due to COVID. Staff continues to work with these pending applicants. And then if we move to attachment B, these are for the applicants who passed the 2019 exam. These applicants will have until April of this year to file an application or to request an extension of time. Out of the 382 passers, 49.5%, roughly half, have already filed their application. Of the remaining candidates, it's 193, 16 have already requested an extension. And applicants may request an extension of time through January of 2023. Most common reason for the extension is to reach the 5-year practice requirement, as their results will be good for 3 years and 3 months from the date of the exam. So, any questions on either attachment or the item as a whole?
Oh, sorry, I was actually just looking at the numbers there. It looks like it's an active group of people that took this last exam. They're a little bit more on top of filing. Okay, any additional questions for Adrian on that? All right, hearing none, we'll move on. Let Adrian take a drink of water there because he's up again. On to section C, which is the review of the report on the 2021 legal specialist examination registrations. Back to you, Adrian.
Of course. So once again, the 2021 legal specialist examination, it is currently planned. It is currently being planned to be held remotely. Registration is set to open on April 1st. So unfortunately, we don't have any active or current registrations of numbers available. But just for additional reference, the fees to apply for this exam, a timely registration would be registrations received from April 1st through August 15th. Those will be for $100. And then late registrations, that's August 15th through September 15th. That'll be the final registration deadline. Those registrations will be $250. For all applicants, we are waiving laptop fees. So hopefully this does encourage those applicants to take the exam remotely. But we have been tracking interested applicants. We currently have applicants interested in every specialty area. If okay, I'll just go through the each specialty area. In Admiralty and Maritime, we have 2 applicants that are already interested. In Appellate, we have 17. Bankruptcy, there is 6. Criminal, we have 17. Estate Planning, there is 48. Family, this is the largest group that's interested. We have 65. Franchise, we have 1 interested. Immigration, we have 14. Legal malpractice at 1. Taxation at 5. And then workers' compensation, we have 32 that have already indicated that they are interested. So we will be sending a mass email notice to these interested applicants once registration opens. And once again, we are working with our communications team to see what type of social media outreach or what type of, or some sort of post that we'll be able to post publicly to let people know as well.
Okay, great, thank you. If there are no questions for Adrian, we will move on to section D, which is the approval of certification revocations for failure to recertify. And again, back to you, Adrian.
Of course. For additional, for some background regarding this item, specialists are required to report compliance of the task and experience and reference requirements by recertifying every 5 years. Reminders are sent automatically, and they are sent through the applicant portal email system. But staff now also sends a 30-day late reminder through the State Bar email service, and then a 60-day final late notice through the State Bar email service, and as well as a physical mailing. At its 2020 meetings, the CBLS motions were lost to revoke any certifications at that time. But currently we have 72 specialists pending recertification, and that's through November 30th. The table on the agenda item, it provides a breakdown of the specialists by specialty area. All of the specialists included on the attachment have received the final email and physical notice, and have been given at least 30 days to respond. Consistent with past action to send notice of revocation, staff will send paper and electronic notice again through the State Bar email service to notify them that their certification will be revoked and closed.
Thank you, Adrian. So it's if everybody can take a minute and look through its attachment A, which is
So I just kind of did an internet search and looked at, like, for example, on the criminal law, Brian Vogel, and his website still lists him as a criminal law specialist. I mean, I don't mind going through and calling the 4 active criminal law people and seeing if they have gotten these notices or not. But the people that I've talked to were shocked that they were going to get, since the last meeting, were shocked that they were going to get revoked and did not know that they were getting revoked. And a bunch of them got their dues paid right away, and that list is a lot shorter.
And I think if it helps, I apologize, I forgot to mention it. So at the last CBLS meeting, the CBLS did direct staff to make calls to those pending specialists, which we did. I would say the response rate was about half did not know, or they had forgotten on accident given the situation around the state. But during those calls, we were able to resign. There were specialists who decided to resign their certification. We were able to process it over the phone. And the people who said that they had forgotten, we did offer them extensions of time to go ahead and submit their applications.
So, but I think this gets to this issue, like, so at this point, we've submitted we send via snail mail, email. Now we've made the calls. And so the question is, like, what is an alternative method? So I think it's Jeffrey who has volunteered to reach out to people, and I think he has their contact as a colleague, but is it that they're submitting the wrong contact information? I mean, I just don't know what alternative we have at this point. Like, given that, all possible modes of communication have been attempted, what are some alternatives?
Well, I know we've tried just reaching out so many times. I've sent emails. Generally, I'm looking at the list. The only 2 that actually surprised me are Alan Wattenmaker and Gary Ruttenberg, only because I see them all the time at LA County Bar events. And so that they would give up their certification is surprising to me. But I know we've reached out to them, and at some point we need to finally say we've done all we can at our end. They do have some responsibility themselves. This has been an ongoing piece for a year. At this point, I think we've done all we can.
But it's an interesting point that's made, and Jeff makes, is that, obviously the people that are specialists, they are promoting themselves as a specialist, as they should. But even if we revoke this, and we've had this conversation on previous meetings, is, what happens next? Like, we're not policing websites to say you got to remove your specialist, designation. We don't go and police people's business cards. And so there's really there's no recourse once we've revoked this. But the flip side of it is there's only so much handholding to the point, Amy and you and Mark have made, is like, when do we cut it off? Every time, in the 4 years I've been here, we're always doing an extension and trying to do some outreach. How much ownership is on the specialist to be following up and checking on their status? So, I don't want to erroneously kick people off of the program, but also don't know, how far we can go to make sure that people are doing what they're supposed to.
Well, I mean, it is an initiative on our work plan, like to have some, some initiatives at addressing when people are violating, the rule of needing to be certified. So, creating some enforcement of some sort.
Right.
And maybe that will help part of this, whatever mechanism we come up with, whether that's, trolling LinkedIn or social media. I'm not sure what methodology we're going to come up with, but that it would be one method. But I think the challenge is, on the staff, from the staff perspective, is that we've exhausted all potential communication sources. So, what's the best remedy for this?
When we revoke someone's status, is there a 30-day grace period after the revocation that they can say, wait a second, this was, an error, I want to be a specialist? Or is it, we vote today and their status is over, and if they want to recertify, the process begins again?
So typically the final revocation notice, it is a 10-day window for them to respond. We can definitely adjust that if the board thinks that it's necessary to do so. Open to your thoughts.
I mean, I guess if there's a motivation for somebody to respond, maybe they've seen the things in the past and it didn't feel like there was no sense of urgency to it, or they would deal with it later. And look, I know from my own personal life, those things happen and they get shelved because I have 30, 60 days and then I run out of time, right? So I think we've all been there. So I think that maybe for those that do want to be in the program, the revocation, the notification will get them to then respond because there is a call to action. There's a sense of urgency. That's my kind of personal thinking. Anybody, any other attorney members? Again, I don't get communication from the state bar because I'm not an attorney. So, I don't know, is there a lot of things that come and it's easy to miss? Is it, is only a few things come and you're filing it and you're missing it? So one of you, if you could kind of help me understand the process a little better, or, the communication that you receive.
Well, my problem is I'll probably get 200 emails a day.
Sure.
And I do go through things, but when I get one from the state bar, it does tend to get my attention. I tend to carve that out and make sure, okay, that does it apply to me, doesn't it? I'm on a number of like the paraprofessionals and some other things. So, but I was worried originally that the state bar emails were being considered junk. I had to go in and make sure that they were safe. I know we've reached out. This has been an ongoing issue now for well over a year. And I was really adamant last year in January and March, and COVID hit and all those things. So there have been extraordinary efforts over the last year. I know there's a letter that goes out, that hard letter, they ought to be getting it. Although I don't know where everybody's mail goes to and how often people are going through it. But at some point along the way, they do have a responsibility. I'm satisfied, at least at this time, that we've really gone the extra mile for the last plus year.
What about making it a 30-day notice instead of a 10-day notice? And then, that way somebody's out of town and they come back and they get it, they at least can sign back up before the 30-day window.
I like that idea. 10 days is really fast.
I'm totally comfortable with 30 days, but it's just got to be clear. Hey, this is your last shot. You got 30 days or we're finally pulling your certification.
Okay. So from a procedural standpoint, Adrian, do we Do we need to make a motion that we extend the date from 10 to 30 days?
Yeah, let me retype out the motion real fast. So for clarification, the motion will be to revoke and give the specialist 30 days to respond to that revocation notice.
Yes. Well, Jeff, right, that, I don't want to speak for you, but that's what I heard.
Yes, yeah, I mean, it seems like at this point, we probably should have approved the revocations. And we've agreed to the 30 days because we have given them quite a bit of the chance, it sounds like, with the calls and the emails and the snail mail.
Yep, personally, it feels like if we keep going back to them, it's like we're begging them to stay in the program, like we're doing them a favor, where, so I agree. I think we need to draw the line in the sand, give them the 30 days and that's it.
Doesn't it say that they already got the final 30-day notice?
Well, it was a 30 day, they were active. This would be a 30 days kind of in a revoked status. So it's, yes, you're right. We've given them multiple 30-day notices. It's like being with my kids and be like, next time, seriously, you're going to be grounded. No, next time you're going to be grounded. Yeah, that's the way I feel too.
All right.
What about revoking them now and give them a second chance? Like, on the letter saying, hey, if you're free to, if you want to, revive get recertified, and then, we have an open door policy. Because we keep on giving them, the multiple 30-day notice, they're going to thinking, well, it's going to be another 30-day notice. I don't have to pay the dues.
Yeah, I agree, Jake. I think that's what we're going to do with this motion is basically we're going to vote to revoke, and they have a 30-day window to respond and say, I don't want to be revoked, right? But at this point, it's final.
I get it. Thank you.
And should we put something in there that once revoked, it's your obligation to remove from any of your advertising or anything that's on the internet, any reference to you being certified as a specialist?
The notice that we do send already informs them that they are to remove any designation on their website or their letterheads.
Is there any acknowledgement required from the specialist that's been revoked to say they've received the letter and they will comply with removing it? Or is it really just a one-way communication?
It's just a one-way communication. We send them the notice and then we process it if we don't get anything back.
Okay.
And it's really only when we stumble across that they've been continuing to advertise and they've lost the designation that we end up doing something. So it's not an active search, really.
Okay. Okay,
Can I
so
make the motion?
Yes, please, Avi.
I move that the certified specialists listed on attachment A are revoked and given a 30-day notice to respond, or revocation is final for failure to recertify.
Okay, great. We have a motion on the floor. And is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Avi, second by Mark. Is there any other questions or is there discussion? Okay, hearing none. Adrian, if you'll take a vote with roll call, please.
Of course. Hammerschmidt,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Levy,
Yes.
Hume.
Aye.
The vote's unanimous. Motion passes.
Great, thank you. And then that's the end of section D. We'll move on to section E, which is the approval of the annual certification ratification for failure to report in group 3 for the 2020 legal specialist continuing legal education compliance. And again, back to you, Adrian.
Of course. So for background on this item, specialists are required to report compliance of 36 hours of LSCLE in their specialty area every 3 years, due at the same time as their general MCLE compliance period. For group 3, this was originally due February 1st of last year, but it has been extended to September 30th of 2020 as a result of COVID-19. The table in the agenda item provides a breakdown of those specialists by specialty area. And then the attachment lists those specific specialists and individuals. Reminders have been sent electronically through the State Bar's email system and physical notices as well. At its December meeting, the CBLS motion was lost to revoke these certifications at that time, and staff was directed to call those pending specialists. We now have 62 specialists pending in compliance group 3. All have received the final email and physical notice. I apologize. And staff did call those specialists as a reminder to report their LSCLE. Just for reference, this is down from 103 pending specialists at the December meeting. This would be consistent with past action to send notice of revocation. In 2019, there were 107 recommended, and then in 2018, there were 37 recommended. If the board approves, staff will send paper and electronic notice through the State Bar email service. And similar to the last notice, if the board agrees, we can adjust it to 30 days as well.
Yeah, I propose that we move everything to a 30-day notice from the 10-day notice. So I think that we can do that. Okay, if anybody wants to take a moment to review the list, if not, if there is a motion for approval.
I've reviewed the list. By the way, Dan Olensee, for what it's worth, has retired. So clearly he's not eligible anymore as a certified specialist. So, and I would second that 30-day if we need to have it formally done.
So I'll make the motion if you want to do the second, I guess.
And then I'll second it. That's fine.
Can't hear you.
Sorry, I was on the wrong screen. Sorry, is the motion for the going from 10 to 30 days or to revoke?
The motion is to revoke the certified specialist listed on this attachment A for failure to comply with the LSCLE requirements and provide them with 30 days notice.
And I will second that.
Okay, moved by Avi, second by Mark. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Adrian, if you'll vote by roll call, please.
Hammerschmidt,
Yes.
Personson,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Levy,
Sure.
and Ian.
Yes.
Votes unanimous, motion passes. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you, everybody. Okay, moving on to section F, which is discussion on potential legal specialization budget reserve spend down initiatives. And there'll be more discussion, I'm sure, on this when turning it back over to Adrian.
Sure. For background regarding this item, the State Bar's reserve policy requires a minimum target reserve of 2 months of operating expenses, which is about 17% for each fund, and requires a spend down plan when reserves remain greater than 30% for 6 consecutive months or greater. Legal specialization, we're currently budgeted to be at 128% of the allowable reserve balance. And the CBLS actually addressed this in 2016. Both the CBLS and Board of Trustees approved a similar spend down of reserves to bring the balance down to 464,000 at the time, from approximately 6 million. The initiatives at that time included an annual fee holiday, which was about 1.6 million, money to go towards a case management system, which is now our admissions applicant portal. We budgeted 1.5 million for that. There was outreach for 100,000. An exam bank prep and the system, there was 2.2 million. Money to go towards research for new specialties, 200,000, and then an exam fee holiday reduction, similar to what was recently approved for 2021, and that was 318,000. So currently, we're looking for your your input for potential spend down initiatives to prepare for and implement in 2022. Once again, we've already approved the 2021 exam fee holiday reduction. Regarding the exam, previously we didn't offer refunds to exam withdrawals. We are recommending to offer and provide refunds now based on the same schedule and scale that's used for the first year law students exam. And then I'll leave it up to the CBLS to consider other options, perhaps a 2022 annual fee holiday, a permanent reduction in fees. For reference, regarding legal specialization fees, the last time that fees were changed was in 2010. The annual fee at that time was $200. It is currently $360. The application for initial certification, there didn't used to be a fee to process those applications, but it is now $300. And the application for recertification, it used to be $100, but it is now $350.
So go ahead, Avi.
I like the annual fee holiday. Yes, personally as well, but also I think it makes sense considering that we just had a pandemic year. And I think that certain businesses or you know, certain people have probably made less money or whatever it is. And so I think there could be some sort of, it's kind of like a stimulus, if you will. So I really like that it's, I really pro the annual fee holiday for 1 year.
Yeah, I agree. I like these holidays. I'm not a big fan of reducing the fees down to a 2010 level because what happens then, it's like now we're rolling it back, but then in 2 years we're going to roll it back up again. I like these kind of one-time things that we can do to bring it down. You know, and you know what that looks like. I also, if we're going to do marketing, there's going to be marketing expenses. So, you know, if the board of trustees can get that, you know, maybe getting rid of the application for recertification. It's an incentive to people who are already in the program. I like those types of things. But I'm not really a big fan of rolling fees back, only to maybe have to in a couple of years bring them back up again.
And I would only point out, we don't have a lot of experience in our financial reporting yet for the working group model that we are now using, which are paid graders, paid exam writers, et cetera, in each of these 11 fields. And, you know, understanding that impact, that financial impact, up or down. Maybe it is less expensive to do it this way than to have the old commissions. But I'd be hesitant to roll back something that we don't yet know the impact with the expenses that we're going to incur from our new model.
And Adrian, I apologize, I don't have the number in front of me. What are we looking to spend for all intended purposes? What is the number that we're trying to hit in terms of a budget reduction? You're muted.
Sorry.
Is it really about $5 million?
We are currently budgeted to be at a reserve balance of 4.3 million. I'd have to do some math. Give me a moment so I can calculate what our reserve would be.
Yeah, I think more than anything is just to ensure that our reserve doesn't stay as high as it is right now. But the other thing I think we have to consider too is I think Mark's right that we're still kind of in the exploratory stages of implementing a paid, that our new ledge team, a paid set of graders, drafters, pre-testers. But the other thing is to offset that, we do have cost savings from the meetings, like in-person meetings. And I don't know if that's enough to warrant this, it's not an even balance, but I do think that that is an offset to a certain extent. Not only did we have many more members, right, when we had the different advisory commissions, but we also met more frequently with those groups, especially around the time of the exam, which incurred some costs to the program.
Yeah, so understanding those savings versus what we're anticipating in the working groups, but all the working groups really aren't filled yet either, are they? I mean, we're building up to this new model, and it's taking some time and some work to get the right numbers of people involved in all of these categories that we now have.
Absolutely. We're much closer than we've been, but we're not at 100%. Yes, you're right.
And if okay, just for reference, the minimum reserve balance would be about 575,000, and then the max would be a little over 1 million. So we would need to spend a little bit over 3 million to get down to the appropriate reserve level.
We're
Okay.
just gonna have to have a party down in Napa Valley, right? Everything first class.
Well, first French Laundry action, I like it.
Yeah, I didn't know the name, but then yes, that is the one. Well, I was thinking about this, something in, you know, merit-based incentive. Let's say if there is a certified exam, and you know, I don't know what the fee is, but if those who pass get refund, or a progressive rate of the renewal fees, or let's say like those the certified specialist who's been with the state bar for a long time, perhaps they get a benefit, right? So sort of like a seniority system. So that way we kind of cut down these fee-based income revenue, but it's not going to be dramatic, so that it's not going to hurt us in the future in terms of our finance. So some sort of a progressive measure. I think we're going to have to take a look into it, item by item, to see. Yeah, if you guys like my idea, I think we're going to have to look into it. I mean, to spend $3 million, what is the timeline to spend the $3 million, Adrian?
I'd have to check. I don't know how fast or how soon that we would need to spend the entire amount. But we do have a couple meetings in between the next state bar year to determine. So if it's okay, if we can get your thoughts on different spend down opportunities, and we'll be able to do the research on our own and then provide those numbers at a future CBLS meeting. And I'll specifically look at time frame for spending down the full budget.
Yeah, so
what about
Adrian, I would
doing-
appreciate if you can give us the details of the items and the timeline. Perhaps we'll go over that, and will give us, each of us give some sort of a suggestion, and then we'll come down to a conclusion.
And,
What about
we have
reducing-
everybody kind of raising their hand. So go ahead, Jeff. Just go through in order here. You're up.
Okay. What about reducing the annual fee for age 70 and older? I know a lot of the bigger firms, require a person to go of counsel at 70, and a lot of attorneys seem like they start slowing down then. I know we lose a bunch of people that become, when they get older, it's just not worth it if they're only practicing part-time.
Okay. Avi?
Yeah, so in terms of timeline, maybe we can, for example, we know that there's 5,000 certified specialists and the annual fee is $300 and something or whatever it is. We know that's $1.8 million or whatever that number is. And if we have to spend 3 million, all right, let's agree now to the 1.8 or soonish, let's say, and then figure out the rest of the 1.2. But if we know we want to do the holiday, I don't think it would be wise to kind of wait another 6 months to decide how we're going to spend the reserves if a lot of us are already leaning towards one thing, and then we could kind of figure out the rest later. So that, I mean, I'm not like wedded to any of that, but I think that's a good idea.
No, Avi, and Mark, you're up next. I was thinking along the same lines as we could do a 2-year fee holiday and we spend the whole thing. But if we commit to doing a 1-year fee holiday and then say we're going to revisit because we have all these extraneous things, we've got new this, and then we can come up with a second. I think that's a great proposal, Avi. Mark, you had some things?
I love how Avi is approaching it. I would throw in for consideration a reduced exam fee so that you're getting the opportunity for more people to take the exam and then come on in and help sustain the program.
Would you favor a reduce, or saying, you know, for 2021, we're going to do a fee holiday. We're also going to waive the examination fee if you apply on time. I think there should still be an incentive so we don't have everybody at the last minute and just get rid of it for this year.
Well, I guess I have no problem with the waiver of the fee. I was thinking a reduced fee if you enroll early.
If you enroll early, okay. Yeah. So do you need, Adrian, for us to make, you know, a motion of what you're going to take back to the Board of Trustees, or is this just recommendations that are going to be presented?
No, so this is just these are just preliminary recommendations for us so that we can kind of analyze like the number of specialists we have, what kind of effect it would have on the budget based on meaningful amount reductions or waivers. And then we'll present it to the CBLS likely at its next meeting. If not, it can, once again, we have a couple meetings this year to fully approve a spend down plan to provide to the Board of Trustees for 2022. So we'll look at all of these and then provide additional information as it relates to each of these at the next CBLS meeting.
That sounds good. Does anybody, any other board members have any other recommendations? Okay, hearing none. Thank you all. This is a great discussion. And then Adrian, we'll just wait to hear back from you in terms of what staff recommendations are and next steps if you need a vote.
Of course, thank you all.
And I believe that takes us to the end of our open session. So we are going to kind of suspend the session now. We'll all log off and rejoin on the closed session link. If we need to take a quick break, I see it's 11:11 on my clock now. Does everybody want to take a 10-minute, break to get some coffee, use the restroom, and we'll come back?
I'd only request if we do it 5, all I want to do is if I can be finished by 11:30 today, I can get to a lunch that I was hoping to go to.
If we don't need, we can move right into closed session if nobody objects.
I'm good.
That's fine.
Okay, so let's we're going to suspend the open session and we'll move straight into the closed session right now. We'll see everybody on the new link.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
Now, go ahead.
Okay.
All we see is Western Jet.
Oh yeah, so it's my work account, which is so weird. I can't even see my own picture. Anyway, I apologize for that. This is Rob Hershenson.
There you are.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I must have clicked the public link. I apologize for that. So we're back after our closed session. And I want to thank everybody for your participation today. And our next meeting is on June 4th. And with that, we are going to adjourn the open session. Thank you all for your time today. We are adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
See you,
you.
June.